Victory in Europe. In the hour of triumph, let us salute those who made this moment possible. With thankfulness in our hearts and pride in our faces, pride in those who lived and died to bring this day about, we salute the men and women of Britain. Salute to our allies from beyond the sea, to those who, like ourselves, speak the tongue that Shakespeare spake and must be free or die, and to the great nation whose soil proved a graveyard for the Nazi dream of world domination. To the men at home who found time amid the day's work to protect our island from the threat of invasion. And the women who shared the burden equally with their menfolk. Honor to those who planned the enemy's overthrow, the architects of victory, Eisenhower, Montgomery, and Tedder. From Bomber Harris and Cunningham of the fleet, turn to those nameless thousands who limped back from the agony of Dunkirk. Theirs was the courage that refused to recognize defeat, though it stared them in the face. They and the few, the glorious, unforgettable few of the Battle of Britain. Men whom numbers could not daunt, who clawed the enemy out of the sky and were Britain's living shield in the months when she stood alone and seemingly defenseless. The years may heal the scars that war burnt into the face of Britain, but time will not wash away the memory of those days when death and flame rained from the skies. Not for the first time in our history, Britain has survived a flood which overwhelmed Europe. Germany sought to break our power at sea, but British ships, big and little, sailed on in defiance of the worst their enemies could do. Losses were heavy in those black days after Dunkirk, but through it all shone the spirit of a nation reared to call the sea its own. The turning point, El Alamein, October the 23rd, 1942. The British Eighth Army won undying glory in a fight which history will number among the decisive battles of the world. Here began the mighty advance, which was to lead through Tunis to Sicily and Rome. After Alamein, the grand strategy of victory unfolded irresistibly. The great news came that the British and Americans had invaded North Africa. The outer defenses of the enemy's stronghold had been breached. Daring all, we had assailed his fortress in what was, till then, the greatest seaborne operation of its kind. But all this was only a shadow of what was to come. Two words began to be on everybody's lips. D-Day. When would it happen? The world waited. On June the 6th, 1944, came the answer. The most momentous military operation in all history had been launched. On that day, when we and our allies staked everything on success, the world saw proof that the ancient spirit of Britain lived on. No nation has ever fought more steadfastly from the apparent certainty of defeat to absolute victory. Irresistibly, we and our allies swept on. The Nazis were reeling, but not yet down for the count. Then came the great moment. The Rhine had been crossed. Allied paratroops descended in their thousands on the far side. Germany's national river, symbol of all things German, had become a broken sheep. After the Rhine, nothing remained to the Nazis but despair and headlong flight. The Allies crashed on to the historic link-up with the Russians, sweeping across the fatherland from the east. Germany had been cut in half. Victories such as ours are not bought without a grievous price in sorrow. On battlegrounds in every part of the world, silent memorials mark the resting place of those who will not return. Thousands more will long bear the marks of war. But there is great rejoicing yet to come for those whose loved ones will be returning to rebuild their interrupted lives. In the British Commonwealth, America, Russia, and many lands throughout the world, millions wait for the men coming home, no longer on short leaves, but for good. Theirs has been the major contribution to this great victory. Sharing the gratitude of the humblest among us stand the great leaders of our nations, who did not spare themselves, preferring freedom for mankind, even to life itself. Finally, we pay tribute to that great Englishman who inspired us to achieve the impossible. When the trials of war are forgotten, we shall still remember his famous sign, which from a gesture of defiance of the enemy in those days of blood, sweat, toil, and tears, became the symbol of victory.